Okay, everybody. I know some of you are a little cranky because you had to set your alarms, an hour early this morning. And I like to say if they had this event any earlier in the day, we'd be calling it the Mayor's Good Friday Supper. My name is Frank Glynn. I'm a member in good standing, I might add, of the El Segundo Rotary Club, and we're very happy to be the hosts of this event. Some of you may be wondering how all this began. Way back, before color had been invented, surprisingly, coincidentally, on a Good Friday in 1967, 5 members of the community, Harry Weber, Sam Douglas Sr., Sam Douglas Jr., Floyd Carr, and Pat Scott, along with a guest speaker, met at the George E. Gordon Clubhouse in Recreation Park for the very first Good Friday breakfast, thus starting a tradition that grew year by year. And here we are, 56 years later, to enjoy this wonderful coming together of our community. We have members of Floyd Carr's family and the Douglas family with us today. They're over here. We are so very grateful for these men who created this event for all of us to follow. They were truly pillars of our El Segundo community. And now please join me in welcoming our amazing 2-term president of the El Segundo Rotary Club, Ed Sue.
Good morning, everyone. Well, my speech just got a lot shorter because, Frank, you've already said everything I need to say. Just want to say a big welcome this morning, and thank you to all of our sponsors, and thank you for waking up early and coming for this breakfast, and thank you for the museum for hosting us. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. And now please stand for the national anthem to be sung by the South Bay Coastliners Chorus, and then remain standing for the invocation led by our beloved Rotary member. There's nobody finer than Reverend Dinah Ferguson from St. Michael's Episcopal Church. Take it away, boys.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red rockets flare bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Let us pray. Loving God, we come to you today mindful of all you have given us. We give you thanks this morning for this time together, the Mayor's Good Friday breakfast. And so we give you thanks for the food that sustains our lives and pray for those who are in need. We give you thanks for family and friends, the joy and companionship we share, and we pray for those who are alone. We give you thanks for faith, the hope that fills our lives, and we pray for those who struggle with doubt and fear. Most especially today, we give you thanks for your Son. Help us to use all your gifts to us in love, with love, and for the love of your world, as Jesus commanded us to do. Amen.
All right, so thank you for that amazing rendition of the national anthem. I can't quite hit the high notes like I used to, but those guys sure can. And to Reverend Dinah for making everything official with your man or your women upstairs. We're going to continue with the program now. But first, I have a little story to tell. So some of you may know that I was born and raised in Ireland. Or as we like to say now, I spent my formative years there. In Ireland, Good Friday is a national holiday. Actually, it's a 4-day weekend because we also celebrate Easter Monday, which was when Ireland got its, basically celebrating getting its independence from England. So everybody in Ireland gets a 4-day weekend, including Good Friday. But Good Friday is the one day of the year that everything is closed. The banks, shops, restaurants, pubs, there's no sports. Everything except the churches are closed. The streets are empty, no cars. Even the kids are kept inside. It's kind of like here when, it's the final episode of The Bachelor. There's nobody on the streets. So later on in my formative years, I set out to find out where everyone was hiding. I roamed the empty streets of Dublin, and eventually someone who passed me furtively said, "Dunnigan's, side door, knock 3 times. I duly went to said door and knocked. A head popped out, looked both ways, and said, "Quick, get inside, and you're the last one." And there it was. It seemed like the entire population of Dublin was crammed inside the pub. Mystery solved. In retrospect, I don't believe they were all there for a pint of Guinness. They were there to celebrate community. Just like we're here today, 5,000 miles away, to celebrate our community. And now I would like to introduce some outstanding members and guests of our El Segundo community. And I'm going out on a limb here. I know it's like hold your applause, but why don't we do it the other way? So everybody, applause for everyone. Don't wait for your favorite. So we're going to start with some great people who've come here to visit us in El Segundo today, and starting with former councilwoman Stacy Armato from Hermosa Beach. Mayor Marty Simonoff from Brea. Visiting from our neighboring city of Lomita, please welcome City Councilman Mark Warnick. Also visiting from the city of Lomita, we are honored by the presence of Mayor Barry Waite. our hometown hero who keeps the water running, the president of West Basin Municipal Water District, Scott Houston. And I'm super excited to introduce three of my colleagues on the El Segundo School Board. The ubiquitous Tracy Miller-Zarnicki. Kansas City Chiefs superfan and Vice President Meredith Beachley. And the youngest looking mom of an 18-year-old, President Daima Wheaton. Straight out of Central Casting, please welcome our El Segundo Chief of Police, Jaime Bermudez. We're also honored to have our City Manager, Darrell George, and our Director of Planning, Michael Allen. The only person I know who has a street named after him, our former Mayor, Carl Jacobson. Former Marine Corps infantry officer, and now battling daily with our stinky neighbor to the west, Chris Pimentel. And allegedly never found hanging around the track in Chicago, our surfing superstar mayor, Drew Boyles. Spring, a time for renewal, hope, and inspiration. And it's now time to hear from our Inspirer-in-Chief, Melissa Albers.
When we're desperate for right answers, God doesn't just send us information, He sends us friends. If you haven't hit a time in life when you're crawling beneath rock bottom, you probably know someone who has. It happens when you're married to the love of your life and divorce papers arrive. It happens when the faith that stitched you together begins to unravel. It happens when someone you've loved leaves you or breaks an important promise. Without warning, the lights go out inside of us. We have no candles to light, and we don't know how to walk in the dark. When our lives fall apart, we don't need trite answers. We need a couple of solid friends. We need presence. We need someone holding our hand for the diagnosis or staying by our side when our big mistakes go public or viral. We need a friend when we courageously head to rehab to address the problem or to court to receive the verdict. Occasionally, we need people to gently ask us the right questions, but more often than not, we need friends who will give us a hug and then listen with big ears and seemingly endless amounts of time. When we're looking for answers, sometimes God sends us wise friends. When He doesn't tell us which way to go, He'll bring people to go with us instead. It's important to know what to look for when we feel like we're falling apart, because God doesn't often send what we think we need. He sends us what He knows we need. Who's hurting around you? Is it possible God could send you to love them without having you say a word or make a suggestion? Who has been there for you during an uncertain time? Drop them a note. Let them know it mattered. Next time your world is turned upside down, look for friends instead of answers. God's lifeboats usually come in the form of people.
And now it's time for the boys in the back to come up to the front. Our South Bay Coastliners Chorus. Would you like to come over and introduce the songs you're going to sing, or who's going to do that? Here we go.
Good morning. So our members came from near and far today. We have from as far away as Riverside and San Pedro. Some of us even came from Lomita. And as far away as El Segundo. So we are the South Bay Coastliners. We are your local chapter of the Barbershop Harmony Society. I'll bet you didn't know there even was a Barbershop Harmony Society. I'll give you the full name. The Society for the Preservation and Encouragement of Barbershop Quartet Singing in America. Incorporated. Inc. So we got a few songs to share with you this morning, and enjoy.
Waving high, in my eye, come with their clarinets a-wailing, come marching bravely up the square. Know in a moment I'll be cheering, and my fine Sunday hat will be high in the air for the new Ashmolean Marching Society and Students Conservatory Band. There are some who favor the Philharmonic flavor, but still the finest in the land is the new Ashmolean Marching Society and Students Conservatory Band. Ra-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Here they come, here they come, waving high. In my eye, here they come with their clarinets a-wailing. Here they come marching bravely up the square. And I know in a moment I'll be cheering, and my fine Sunday hat will be high in the air for the new Ashmolean Marching Society and Students Conservatory Band. Ashmolean Marching Society and Students Conservatory Band. Hey! Oh, the greatest songs of all are the ones that I recall. They wrote them in the good old days. Remember, sweet Illinois, where it's fine, you're gonna be too. Little Andy Rudy by the old fish screen. Still a hard thing I'm gonna do. That's the way my dad and mother used to sing it. Sing away on harmony days, the old songs. Babyface and honeysuckle rose. Yes, the greatest songs of all are the ones that I recall. They wrote them in the good old days. They wrote them in the good old days. Those ever-loving good old days. How about I want a girl just like a girl by the light of the silvery moon? Put your arms around me, honey, hold me tight. Sway, take my way, the old slop shoe. good Yankee Doodle boy. Yes, the greatest songs of all are the ones that I recall. They wrote them in the good old days. Toe, tap, rhythm, put your arms around me, honey, hold me tight. Sway right with them. Hum along and whistle if you know the chorus. Can't forget them. T for two and Yankee Doodle boy. Yes, the greatest songs of all are the ones that I recall. They wrote them in the good old, ever-loving good old, yeah. They wrote them in the ever-loving good old days. Those good old days. Good old days.
So we have one more song for you, but first I wanted to invite any of you who'd like to sing. We meet every Wednesday night at the Salvation Army in Redondo Beach, 125 Barrow Street. And for you ladies who'd like to sing, we also have the LA Southtown Chorus. And we're very much related to them because their director is the wife of our director. So, and some of us even sing in mixed quartets with men and women. I know, you would think it was 1980. But anyway, and so we love to have people come sing with us. We're there every Wednesday night, 7:30. Look us up, coastliners.org. So with that, Tony.
Oh, goodbye, my Coney Island baby. Farewell, my own true love, my honey. I'm gonna go away and leave you, never to see you any, never gonna see you any. I'm gonna sail upon that ferry boat, never to return again. So goodbye, farewell, so long forever. Goodbye, my Coney Island. Goodbye, my Coney Island. Goodbye, my Coney Island. We all fall for some girl that dresses neat, some girl that's got big feet. We meet her on the street, then we'll join the army of married boobs to the altar. Just like leading lambs to slaughter. When it's over, oh boy, we get good. Bachelor days we then recall. Rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief, doctor, lawyer, merchant, chief. We all are bound for. Goodbye, my Coney Island baby. Farewell, my own true love, my honey. I'm gonna go away and leave you, never to see you any, never gonna see you any. I'm gonna sail upon that ferry boat, never to return again. So goodbye, farewell, so long forever. Goodbye, my Coney Island. Goodbye, my Coney Island. Goodbye, my Coney Island. Bye, Coney
Thank you, South Bay Coastliners Chorus. And now, please welcome to the podium Mayor Drew Boyles.
Thank you, Frank. Oh, that was incredible. Coastliners, let's give it up for them one more time. We lost a great leader recently, an incredible woman who was a mentor to me when I even thought about running for office. She was right there for me with her counsel all along the way. I miss her a lot, Sandy Jacobs. I don't think Carl is here today, but it was great to see the Coastliners at Sandy's wonderful ceremony of life recently, and I'm so glad that you're here today, and I'm sure she's up above watching and enjoying it. And thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And Melissa said it so well. I loved your speech, Melissa, because I like to read, I like to stay up on a bunch of different things. My family would say I'm very nerdy that way and track everything, and very interested in longevity and living a very long life. 130 is my number, minimum. And what is one of the most contributing factors to longevity? Relationships. Social connections is one of the most important things for a long life. So I love this town. I've lived here now, I don't know how long it's been, 30 years, I guess, since I first came here as a single dad with my oldest son, Ryan, and Patrick here. And this town fully embraced me as a single dad. $750 a month rent. Mike Rostovsky, El Segundo tailor, best tailor in the South Bay, was my first landlord. And fell in love with this town immediately. This town raised my boys, and then I met my incredible wife and had more children, and I'm so blessed to live here and call El Segundo home, and so fortunate to lead this great city with incredible colleagues like Mayor Pro Tem Chris Pimentel and the incredible school board and everyone we have in this. We should be very thankful and fortunate to live in such an incredible city. And I might add, and my colleagues from the other cities will appreciate this, and Lee always cringes when I say it again, the most important 5 square miles in Southern California. Let's hear that. I also want to acknowledge Park Vista. Thank you for being here, Park Vista, and Neil Cadman for bringing everybody. It's great to see Park Vista here as well. And, you know, my colleagues in government, Mark, thank you for being here. Council member, long-term council member from Lomita, and Barry Waite, the mayor, and Marty Simonoff, and Stacy, former council member of Hermosa. Means a lot that you're here to me. My family, thank you for being here. Dylan, flying in from Chicago. We're trying to talk him into joining the family business. He's interviewing this week, so give him a hard time. And my leadership team. Thank you, Will, my sister, Laura, Joseph, my entire leadership team. Thank you for being here, guys. It's great to see you all. You know, I want to just talk about a couple things, and I'll keep it really brief. Anyone use ChatGPT, the artificial intelligence tool? I know kids are using it in school. School board, watch out for this. You saw the hands go up. So I asked ChatGPT, I started out with, hey, write me an incredibly inspiring Easter story about hope. And I went through like 5 versions. Melissa's, yours is way better, okay? I scrapped them all. But I came up with the little things. So this is from ChatGPT. Why did the Easter egg hide? I can't believe I have to read this. Because it was hoping to be found and bring joy to someone's day. Happy Easter. And happy Passover and happy Ramadan. I want to thank Gilda, Ed, Frank, and everyone with Rotary that helped put this great event together. I know it's a tough week. Our school district's on break. We don't have as many attendees as we normally do, but you guys are doing a great job. Thank you so much. Let's give them a round of applause. All right, now on to the speaker. I've been really fortunate to get to know our speaker very well. In fact, he and I met probably 10 years ago through Entrepreneurs Organization, another group that I'm very passionate about, that I used to lead. I was the president of the LA chapter. Well, Martin and I met in San Diego, where he's a member, and he's been an entrepreneur for a couple decades. And Martin, I instantly fell in love with this guy. We call him the professor, and you'll understand why when you hear him speak. He's very well read. He's always on the hunt for knowledge, which I love about him. I was fortunate to bring him on a surf trip in Indonesia last year, so I had 10 days with Martin. And so we fell in love because we both love surfing. Not that we really fell in love, but you know, we love each other. You know what I'm saying, Lee? And he's just one of those, we're kindred spirits, and I think you're going to love what he has to say. He's written 3 books. I've read 2 of the 3. I'm going to read the third one here very shortly. But Martin is a guy who said, you know, I'm doing well in life. I've got these incredible daughters. They're doing great. I have a long relationship with my wife. We're happily married, and I want to do more. So he set some goals for himself, pretty audacious goals. One was, anyone familiar with the paddling to Catalina race? Okay. That was one of his goals. How about surfing Killers, Toto Santos, 35-foot waves? That was one of his goals. So he's an inspiring guy, but you know, one of the things I learned from Martin is this, and my team knows this because we had Martin speak at our last leadership retreat. Really, you as a person, your character is nothing more than a collection of what you do with your life. Your habits. What do you do day in, day out? How do you live your life? Because that's what makes up who you are, and that's what people remember. So Martin's going to talk about some goals, people that have faced some difficult obstacles in life, overcome those, and more importantly, I think what he's going to get to too is hopefully a takeaway tool, a habit tracker. If you're inclined to use it, I use it religiously every day when I go to bed at night. I track very specific things because I want to achieve a lot in life, and I want to have a very rewarding, successful life, and he's helped me get there. And so, Martin, I'm so honored to have you. Thanks for driving up from San Diego to be here. Let's give Martin a really warm welcome.
Couple things. First, I'm going to try to do this without the mic. And you guys hear the back? Can you guys hear me? Everybody okay?
There's
That's the first all time. I was just helping.
You want a wireless mic?
I was going to try to do it
Okay,
without the
cool,
mic.
cool.
I was just helping an elderly gentleman to the bathroom, and then Hilda came and found me and said, "You're being introduced." So I ran back. Today we're going to have some fun. I have some participation prizes. I've written 3 books, and I'm going to tell. My hope is to talk about 3 major ideas, if you will, and stories that are related. So with that, presuming this works, come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Here we go. Here we go. All right. First participation prize. Anybody know who this is? Yes, sir. Incredible. All 5'11" of her. I have to? Okay. All right. Well, I tried because I like to have my fans free. Excellent work. So Eleanor has a terrific quote. She said, and by the way, there's the name. She said, "Great minds talk about ideas. Average minds talk about events. And small minds talk about people." Very good. I'm going to remember that. So what's funny is here I am at an event talking about a person with my hope is to talk about a few big ideas. And the big ideas, dare I say big ideas, are hope, goals, and habits. So to set the table, in 2002, I volunteered for Junior Achievement. Is anybody familiar with Junior Achievement? Yes. Who's volunteered? Yes. What did you teach? And by the way, I am almost completely deaf, so I can't hear very well. Scream. What did you teach? What was the curriculum, do you know? The curriculum? Okay, so what I'm getting at is they asked me, they developed something called success skills. Success skills. And I would go into these underprivileged schools. Is this okay? And I would talk to these high school students, juniors and seniors. And I'm teaching success skills. And my first question is, what am I going to be teaching? What's the definition of success? It's totally loaded word, right? Success? Like, what is this? So I asked the kids, and I'm looking at the curriculum, and 100% of the kids want to be a success. Then I ask them, what's the definition? And I'm looking at the curriculum, and the curriculum is this: creating your future. And to me, there's a huge problem with this. Does anybody see the problem by chance? You could live in a garbage can and you'd be creating your future. You could mug a person, you'd be creating your future. So there was a slight tweak. If I'm teaching these kids, I want to adjust this slightly. So this is what we did. Creating your ideal future. Because when you're creating your ideal future, you're moving towards a target. You know where you want to go, you have goals. Now this actually brings up the next question. I'm sitting here and I'm talking to these kids and we're like, if success is creating your ideal future, what is the opposite of success? What is the opposite of success? Anybody want to guess? I got a prize. You already got one.
Someone said failure.
Who? Who said failure?
These guys.
So failure is a great answer, except for we kept thinking about that. And we realized there are notable failures, like Lincoln, multiple bankruptcies, right?
You want the answer?
Oh yeah, hold it for a sec, but I want to go there. Yes, this is great. Edison, thousands of failures. And J.K. Rowling's like living out of her car, right? And bankrupt and divorced. And so failure has to be a prerequisite for success. It cannot be the opposite. So now we're really dumbfounded. I'm talking to these kids and I'm like, hold your answer. What is the opposite? And this junior, I'm guessing junior or senior, beautiful young lady, she's raising her hand. This is after like 2 minutes of silence. She's just like waving her hand, and I can't not call on her. And she shouts out, hopelessness. And I just like, my knees buckled. I'm not even kidding. I almost fell over. Everybody was stunned. Hopelessness. Hopeless. I don't know where she got this answer, and I don't know if that's where you were going. And
Not trying.
there you go. That's very good. I'm going to give you a book. So, not trying is basically hopeless. Now, we're all hopeless from one moment to the next, perhaps, but it's prolonged hopelessness, which means you cannot create your ideal future. If you're hopeless, and that's a dangerous place, for a long period of time, you should, and I wrote a book called The Pressure Paradox, but essentially you need to reach out to people. And I think it was you who spoke earlier. Yeah, that was beautiful, by the way. So, and that was all about reaching out to people, right? So that's the quick story about hope. It was a serendipitous way from success, creating your ideal future, which you cannot do if you're hopeless. You cannot be prolonged. You do not want to have prolonged hopelessness. All right. So there it is. Success is creating your ideal future. Now we just move to goals, because if success is creating your ideal future, then goals are what help you get there. Now, by the way, nobody ever taught me this, and I wish they did. I never understood the significance of goals. Goals are absolutely critical. So the next story, I'm talking to an artificial intelligence expert 4 years ago, long before ChatGPT. And I asked this guy, oh, by the way, Brian Tracy, he's written like 75 books. He says, success is goals, all else is commentary. I don't think it's that cut and dried. But I'm talking to this artificial intelligence expert. And I say Alex, and by the way, he's sold his company for millions. He's helping some of the, I think it's oil companies with preventive, predictive analysis of their drills. Because if their drills go down, that costs them millions of dollars. So I'm asking him on the podcast, I'm saying, explain to me artificial intelligence. What is it? And I say, isn't it just the ability to learn on the fly. And he says, yes, but really at its core, it's goal-directed behavior, which is mind-blowing definition. Artificial intelligence is goal-directed behavior. If artificial intelligence is goal-directed behavior, then what is real intelligence? It's got to be goal-directed behavior. So that means we have to have big, exciting goals. Now, Tony Robbins has a classic quote. He just says, everyone has goals, most of them are impotent, meaning they just want to get to happy hour or the next tea time. Now, that's a good one. That's me, soon. Or they want to get to the end of the day or the end of the month. But big, exciting goals are goals, it's putting your intelligence in action. All right? I need more questions here. So, because I haven't given enough away books. So with every goal, what comes included, like prepackaged software? This is a question for a prize, even if you don't get it right. Try, yes. Real loud. Habits. That is excellent. That's not where I'm going, but it's excellent, and that's going to get you a prize. Because you said habit, you are going to get the habit factor. Woohoo! Can you pass this down to him? Thank you, sir. Yeah, the answer that I'm looking for is pain. Drew, did you want to become a mayor? That was a goal. Let me guess. Has there been any pain involved in becoming a mayor? Right? So the reason we're sharing that is when you have big goals, you can expect tremendous pain. And that's the good news and the bad news. The good news is you got to know that. The bad news is if you don't really desire it, you're going to quit. So the key is to have goals that you truly desire, which brings the question, how do you know, how do you know you're going to have a goal that's super meaningful? And what I would submit to you is this is the ultimate test. You ask yourself some tough questions, like, whoop, I jumped ahead. Well, maybe not. Yeah, tough questions like, what must I achieve or become before I die? We have one life to live. Give it a go for it. So this is Roz Savage. The related story for me, I had never heard of her. She was the first, I don't know if she was the first, she was one of 5 women to row a boat solo across the Atlantic Ocean, 102 days. Her oars broke. It was extraordinary. I've never heard of her. I didn't know her story. But I got a notice. Somebody told me she had blogged about the app, the Habit Factor. And I was like, wow. So I learned more about her, reached out. She ends up writing the foreword for the book, The Habit Factor, that you now have. In it, she says, she basically says, I wrote 2 obituaries. One where I was headed if nothing changed. And my ideal, think about that. Here it is again. Her ideal obituary. And her ideal obituary was worlds away from where she was headed. So she got divorced, quit her job. Next thing she knows, she's rowing. She's got 4 Guinness World Records for rowing across oceans. But she did it because she decided to pursue her ideal future. She did it because she began with the end in mind. she pretended she was dead and she looked back, which, by the way, was exactly what I tripped upon. It was a Tony Robbins exercise. If I died tomorrow, what would I most regret not experiencing or achieving? And Drew stole my thunder here. No, it's in the book, and it's really the impetus for the habit factor. What I did was well, let me back up. I was 17 years old. I grew up outside Malibu, California, Calabasas, Hidden Hills area. I live down in San Diego now. And at 17, I would see these covers, these guys, they look like gods. They just done this Catalina paddle. And at 17, I'm like, someday I'll do that, right? Someday I'll. Next thing I know, I'm 35. So I was stuck on someday I'll. Has anybody ever been stuck on someday I'll? Yes? No? So I convinced myself that I'm going to die tomorrow type of exercise. And next thing I knew, I ran downstairs. I signed up for this event. And then I panicked because I didn't have a paddle board. And I'd never paddled in like a mile or 20 feet. Like I surfed, but it's totally different. So this is just a quick flavor, if this works. This is what it looks like for about 7.5 hours. Just paddling. Super fun. But what came out of it, oh, and yeah, that's my little brother Mark. That's what I look like at the end, about to die. And that was the next one. So I'll stay on this one. When I signed up and I panicked, I was like, what am I going to do? And there's a spreadsheet on your table right now that has only been refined slightly, and it was the one Drew's been talking about. I set the big goal, and rather than run through a to-do list of like, buy a paddleboard, call a paddling coach, what I did was I focused on core recurring behaviors, habits, using the rhythm of the week. So it wasn't about a to-do list. Okay, so then 6 months later, I end up completing this. I'm surprised. I don't really talk to anybody about it, kind of keeping it to myself. I say I got to test this one more time, and I want to try. Again, if I were to die tomorrow, what would I regret not doing? It was an Ironman. Only I didn't own a road bike. I never ran in a 5K. I didn't even have running shoes. 9 months later, I did it. I ran. I completed an Ironman. This is actually a picture from the third, and I share this because I got to run across with my daughters and our niece. So, priceless experience. But all because I went through this process of setting the goal, beginning with the end in mind, and then setting the habits that will get me there, which is what now brings me to the main portion, and I'll try to move through this quickly. Who's heard of SMART goals? Oh, wow, incredible. So if this is for a book, SMART means what? I thought you just raised your hand. It's an acronym. Yes. Specific, measurable, attainable. Excellent. So, wow. So, the good news is you know that, and it is helpful. The bad news is there habit anywhere in there? There isn't. You get a to-do list with that, and the problem is your life is run by a to-do list. In other words, in your to-do list is feed the fish, pick up the dry cleaning, get the milk. And what I'm suggesting, what I've learned through experience and then coaching this for 10 years, is that by focusing on a habit list, which is separate, habit tracking list, that'll lead you to your goals, you don't confuse feed the fish for the really important habits that you need to achieve your goals. So there are 3 books. The Habit Factor, The Pressure Paradox, and everything is a, pardon the language, effing story. Which one would you like? All right. All right. Woohoo! All right. So, yeah, there's no habit in SMART goals. And by the way, I tried, and this is part of the deviation where I began to focus on habits because SMART goals weren't working for me. So, and a to-do list was not working. It's more about core recurring behaviors. So, this is where we are, habit. And the mayor, sir, thank you, you mentioned this. Who knows the story, good for a book, about Ben Franklin? Obviously, there are many stories. But Ben did something extraordinary at 20 years old. Anybody know what he did? Wow, that's okay. No, he decided he was sailing back to America after like a business failing, tail between his legs, and he was looking out over the horizon, literally and figuratively, and he was like, what do I want to become? At 20 years old. And he decided, and by the way, this is just to show you, habit is a means to 2 ends. Who you become and what you achieve. The Latin root of habit is habitus, which means condition or character. Just gonna look how we're doing on time. So this is Plutarch, but Aristotle said the same thing. To achieve any virtue, the path is habit. In other words, if you had the virtue, and I'm sure you do, of being honest, it's because you have the honesty habit, right? So, habitus. So Ben Franklin said this about habit, which is an extraordinary quote. Did you get your book? You got your book. Woo! Your net worth to the world is what you get when you subtract your bad habits from your good ones. That's like we could drop the mic and everybody can go home, right? That's extraordinary statement. And by the way, did he do a few things? I can't believe you went to ChatGPT. This is ridiculous. Because so did I. I was like, Chat, quick, hit me with Ben Franklin's major accomplishments. And in a second, I had, I don't know, the lightning rod, the bifocal, first postmaster general, Declaration of Independence, and U.S. Constitution. He's done a few things, right? The first library, the university, like first university, he was extraordinarily prolific. And here is why I'm talking and sharing this story about habit. Oh, by the way, these were originally the 12 habits. He called them virtues that he tracked, but they were habits. What's the 13th there, Mayor? Humility. Yeah, a Quaker friend turned to him and said, hey, buddy, I got one more habit you can track. It's humility. Is that extraordinary? So, here's why I'm talking about it. In his autobiography at like 82, 83, after all these extraordinary accomplishments, this is what he spent the most time talking about his habit tracking. And this is what he said about it. I hope, therefore, that my descendants may follow this example and reap the benefit. He's talking about habit tracking. One of the most prolific minds, people in the history of the world, is saying, this is what you should do, habit track. So by the way, there's a few habit trackers on your table. Now, the process that I promote has a few hundred years of science to back it. His process obviously worked tremendously well, but it was very different. So that's The question is, all right, how do you habit track? What's the best way? In my humble opinion, this is the best way. Plan, act, record, and reassess. We call it the PAR methodology. You plan, again, the sheet on your table will allow you to plan. You follow the rhythm of the week. Now, I say you are not a rat. Does anybody know what that's referring to? Has anybody heard of this, the habit loop? Great. Good, because I'm going to say it's not all that. Like, it's over-popularized. The fact is, you are not a rat. So the habit loop, just to give you some background, is they put a rat or a mouse in a maze, and they put some cheese there, and then that's the cue, and then they got the cheese more quickly each time. And they're like, oh, that's how habits are developed. Well, not exactly. So humans have the ability to plan, they can use intention, and they can use reflection. So that's what this sheet, and by the way, there's an app, and they're both free, offer you. So this is what it looks like if your goal were to run a marathon. You would, rather than focus on a to-do list, call the trainer, buy shorts, buy shoes, you would focus on the core recurring behaviors that are going to help drive that goal's achievement. For instance, how much water are you going to drink, right? And what's the frequency? If you've never drank water, or you rarely drink water and you're trying to develop that habit, maybe it's 4 times a week, 5 times a week, 6 glasses instead of 8. And then you reassess at the end of 4 weeks of tracking. This is the process. This is the process straight out of the book, if you're wondering. And this is what the sheet looks like. Again, on your table. So, we keep the habit tracking process binary. So as you go through the days, by the way, it's free. So as you go through the days, for instance, going back to the paddling event, Tuesday, the T column is the target. So on Tuesday, my target is 35 minutes of paddling. And on Tuesday, unfortunately, I do not do it. So it's just ones and zeros. I didn't do it. The A column is the actual. The beauty of this system, dare I say, is that Wednesday comes around and I can make it up because Wednesday was not a target day. Does this make sense? Great. So the minimum success criteria. Now, if I paddle for 20 minutes, but my minimum success criteria was 35, do I get a check? No. If I paddle for 80 minutes, do I get 2 checks? No. Because habit cares about, I know that's poor English, habit cares about consistency over time. That's it. Consistency over time. So you don't get 8 checks because you did 50 push-ups one day and your target was, or 5 checks and your target was 10. So this is what the app looks like. It's free. You can download it. We're nearly done here. Still don't know how we're doing on time. And, oh, what do you know? I thought we had the, no. Look at that. Anybody recognize this guy? So out of the blue, Drew tells me he read the book. I had no idea he even bought the book. A lot of people buy books, they never read them. He bought it, then he read it, and then out of the blue, he's texted me, he's like, 8 weeks of tracking, and I'm killing it, and he's showing me the sheet. And I'm like, this guy he's Ben freaking Franklin. Unbelievable. So, yeah, again, we're wrapping it up, but this is just to say it's not just something that worked for me or the mayor. This guy is a world-famous PGA golf coach. But 12 years ago, when he read The Habit Factor, He was not. But he read the book, wrote to me, said he wanted to become Habit Factor certified, and he was going to use it in his coaching practice. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. My first certified Habit Factor coach. And today, he's absolutely killing it. He's so successful. And then, you know, I'm blown away when a psychologist or a psychiatrist, they email me. They say, this is amazing, I'm recommending it to my clients. Right there. And so we got doctors, we got people, and by the way, I think it was Ryan who said, I'd like to see some more, wasn't it you? I'd like to see some other examples where this worked, which is good feedback. So this is a coach in Germany. This is Hitachi Mitsubishi Power Systems. They were trying to improve their safety behavior habits. Obviously that could be a problem, right? And this guy's writing me to say his OSHA record, I don't even know what that means, has improved. The safety behavior habits have improved just by following the Habit Factor process. So big companies, this is a Superior Court judge. This is a fleet manager for Chrysler, sales. So they implement it with their sales teams. 3 or 4 years, just some random person, 3 or 4 years instilling habits. It's been very helpful. I just turned 58 and I feel like my life is beginning all over again. Very humbling. Habit Factor saved my life. And this may be the most extraordinary story. Adrian was in and out of the hospital with severe depression. And even suicidal at points. He sets this big goal, intelligence in action, a big goal of a Honolulu marathon. He achieves it. Out of the blue, I get this. And he says the most extraordinary part is, and obviously his circle of friends knew the challenges he went through. He went from that to inspiring, this is what he says, I'm convinced I can achieve anything, and I'm inspiring others from depressed and suicidal by following this process. Oh, and this, just because it's semi-recent, this is, what is it? Yeah, New Year's Eve. A very prominent lawyer in San Diego. He's got multiple offices. He's at a retreat, leadership retreat, and somebody says they implemented the Habit Factor at their company. And he says he's intrigued. He sends me this on LinkedIn, and the short story is, I'm like, how did you hear about it? He says, at this leadership retreat, and then he did the same thing the mayor did. I'm still crushing it, which is amazing, upper right corner. So the process works when you do it, and that's it. So, having said that, one takeaway, I think we're good on time.
I think we will wrap it up there, and
Yep.
you can take questions after. Okay?
Well, perfect.
Yep.
Okay, good.
All right. Okay, thank you, Martin. Did you turn that one off? So the Rotary Club. The Rotary Club would like to present you with a special coin. It includes Rotary Club's four-way test, which was created in 1932 by Rotarian Herbert Taylor when he was asked to take charge of a company that was facing bankruptcy. This 24-word test was created for employees to follow in their business and professional lives, and the survival of the company is credited with this simple philosophy adopted by Rotary in 1943. The four-way test has been translated into more than 100 languages. And here it goes. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? And I think what Martin talked about today definitely fits in the four-way test. You can take this little bit of Rotary with you. Here you go.
Wow, thank you.
All right, it's time to roll the credits, and I'll have you out of here quickly. So it's a big thanks to our event sponsors and supporters: Chevron, the Cadman Group, You Move Me, 1-800-GOT-JUNK, Has a Way Today, the Kiwanis Club of El Segundo, TG Construction, Mentum Payments, the El Segundo Chamber of Commerce, and the Zimmerman Automobile Museum. Thank you to our table sponsors: Douglas Mortuary, St. Michael's Episcopal Church, Helen Carr and family, the Jacobson family, Edco, and Hackman Capital Partners. And a special acknowledgement to Studio Printing, Edsu, Chef Alba, El Segundo TV, Hillary's Flowers, the South Bay Coastliners, and the Cambria Hotel. And a very special thanks to Gilda Dykman and her committee of Rotarians for bringing us all back together for this wonderful event. So my closing thought to you is this: let's all do something to put the good in Good Friday. Wave that car across the intersection, call your mom, put an extra $1 in the tip jar, or buy a rubber ducky on the way out the door. A little good goes a long way. Thank you for joining us this morning for this very special 56th annual Mayor's Good Friday breakfast. We wish you all a joyous Easter and spring season. Thank you.